Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charleston, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show. We'll be covering everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys that we definitely want you guys to stick around for. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about what Charles Barkley had to say on All the Smoke podcast yesterday. They released their full interview. It was a pretty interesting interview. Asked them some really interesting questions, and Charles Barkley had a very interesting top 10 players list. Very, very interesting. I think in his top 5 he had Michael Jordan, maybe in order. I could be wrong. It could be in order. I could be wrong. I think it's Michael Jordan, Oscar Robinson, Wilt, Bill Russell, and I think it was Kareem. I could be wrong. And then he had Kobe. He had LeBron. I think I want to say he had Tim Duncan in there somewhere or something like that, but he had a pretty interesting top 10 list, which I'm sure some people are going to discuss later on anyway. But early in the interview, around let me say in the first 30 minutes, there was a part where Matt Barnes brought up the question about Skip Bayless. Now, we all know that Charles Barkley has publicly stated on many occasions in the past that he's not a fan of Skip Bayless. So we're not breaking any news here, right? There's nothing groundbreaking about this. However, what makes this a little bit different is the nature of the All the Smoke podcast, which is number one, you're allowed to curse, and it's just it's a raw version of sports media. So in this particular case, Charles Barkley was able to give a very, very candid answer versus something that he could say on on NBA. On TNT. So just to kind of give you guys a background, he asked him about, in this case, Matt Barnes, he asked him to touch on the incident between Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe, the thing he said about Damar Hamlin, and just his general thoughts on, I'm sure somebody's going to roast me in the comments again for getting that name wrong. Probably I did. I don't know. So what we want to do is we want to play exactly what Charles Barkley had to say here about Skip Bayless. Then we're going to come back and really unpack this thing. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
Skip Bayless, obviously, recently with the unfortunate situation that happened with Damar Hamlin on the Bills, he just had an untimely tweet, and I think he thought that he could say something and then say something kind of, meaningful at the end, and we wouldn't see through. That was brought to attention, but then also the way he's just kind of been disrespecting his co-host, and you have to see Shannon kind of take a deep breath every once in a while. What is just your take on what he is doing and just how disrespectful I feel like he is to players and now his co-host as well?
Openly disrespectful. So I don't like the guy because television is a very powerful weapon, right? Very powerful. One of my mentors is Mike Wilbon. He's somebody I admire and really respect. And he did my last 3 books, and he's become like a big brother, father figure. But he said something very interesting to me, and I already knew it. He says, man, being on television is crazy. I said, what do you mean? He says, I've been at the Washington Post for 25 years, did it all. Nobody in the world knew who I was. I go on TV for a year. I can't go nowhere without people running up on me. Mm-hmm. And I said, man, TV is amazing. Like, it's such, like, everybody know who's on television. Especially if you're successful and you're on television a lot, it is really a big, like, everybody watch television. And Skip, to me, these guys are real people. And I don't mind you criticizing guys. Right. It can never be personal. Right, that's it. And one thing I hate about the media, you can tell guys they like and dislike. You can't talk about people on television like that. You have to be fair and honest with people. And I think he is. You can tell who he likes. You can tell who he dislikes because he makes it personal. Like, you can't say bad stuff about LeBron James.
But everything out your mouth can't be bad.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible.
So you heard Charles Barkley's thoughts on Skip Bayless. I got a few thoughts on this, and I want to take a nuanced approach to this discussion. On the surface level, I can understand the position Charles Barkley is taking when it comes to Skip Bayless, meaning that he is obnoxious. He makes things personal. he really doesn't really seem to have a feedback system outside maybe his bosses, because Skip Bayless doesn't really read anything that his critics or his viewers have to say about him, which I don't think is a good thing. I think it's important to have some self-awareness of what people are saying. It doesn't mean that what they're saying about you, you need to now just all of a sudden take it to heart and start changing the way you behave. For example, a lot of people on our channel, not a lot, some people on our channel maybe don't like the way we do certain things. Maybe they don't like that we talk about LeBron in a certain way. Cool. They give their opinion on it, right? I hear it. I can hear what they're saying. It doesn't mean that just because 20 or 100 people say, hey, you need to stop saying this about LeBron, all of a sudden I'm going to do that. No, that's what children do. Children are very impressionable. So they can just change their mind at a moment if you say one thing or the other to them. So, you take it in, you're aware of it, and it's also good because maybe sometimes you can be a little bit overcritical of someone and you may not be aware of it because no one is bringing it to your attention. And that's really where Skip kind of falls victim to what Charles is saying in terms of being hypercritical of LeBron. Now, is Skip Bayless hypercritical of LeBron James? Absolutely. He is absolutely hypercritical of him in the sense that he almost never has anything positive to say about him. He's probably the only person he talks about 5-6 days a week, meaning on Twitter. He posts about LeBron James pretty much every other day. And he's always looking at things in terms of LeBron from a glass half empty standpoint. This is a fact of the matter. Just go read through the tweets, the litany of tweets on his Instagram page, on his Twitter page, and you'll see that for yourself. It's clear. Like, there's no one going to tell me that Skip Bayless, doesn't always have a negative stance on LeBron. That seems to be his disposition when it comes to LeBron. However, there's something that I want to kind of touch on, which is, you can't have favorites. You can't hold that against Skip because everybody has a favorite of something. Everybody has a bias in one way or the other, and there's nothing wrong with a bias as long as it doesn't cloud your judgment when you're saying certain things. But you also have to be aware of the fact that you're not always going to get people to agree with you, even if you don't have a bias. That's also important. That's why I said it's a nuanced conversation. What do I mean? Charles Barkley said he's a Phoenix Suns fan. Why? Because he used to play with the team. That's a certain bias. Maybe in you want them to win. Now, if they don't win, I'm sure you're not going to lose any sleep over it, but you want them to win. You're rooting for them, right? I think Shaq, who's a part owner of the Sacramento Kings, I think he may want them to win in certain extent. Maybe Kenny Smith, who likes Kyrie Irving, may want Kyrie Irving to do very well. Shannon Sharp likes LeBron James. He wants him to do very well. Jay Williams likes LeBron. I like Kawhi. I like Kobe, right? People like who they like. So there's nothing wrong with liking someone. The problem becomes when you now start putting down other people to, make that person look big. Then you have an issue. Now, some people say, well, you put down LeBron to make Kobe look good. No, I think what I say about LeBron is just, what needs to be said. Now, some people can disagree. No, you're hating. That's fine, right? That's fine because people are going to, you're human beings. Where you get into trouble, and where I do agree with Charles, is when you get into name calling, which Skip Bayless is notorious for. But it's not just Skip Bayless that does this. And this is where we got to be careful. It's not just him. When they were calling Russell Westbrook, Shannon Sharp was right along for the ride too. Now, I'm not attacking Shannon. What I'm saying is that he's not the only one. Is he the most excessive person in media? Probably most likely. But Stephen A. Smith has also gotten into problems with people too for calling players scrubs and all of this stuff. And people have had issues with him. So it's not just Skip, right? It's not, and I don't want to just say it's just him. The other point I'm trying to make is that people are human beings and you're going to like something. You're going to support something in a particular sport. No one is just 100%. I don't have any rooting interest whatsoever. I don't really believe that. And finally, what I want to say about Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson is this. As we were preparing the show, I was thinking to myself, well, what the point you're going to make about everyone having a bias, Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson don't really seem to have a bias. And then I realized, wait a minute. The reason you don't really know what they think is because of the nature of their show. It's an interview show. And in an interview show, you rarely know what the host thinks, because the host's job is to get the audience to understand what the person being interviewed thinks, not really the host. So no one really cares if you take a position or not. Now there's some people that interview people that have a challenge with that. They want to make their, I'm not going to. So now I can see there, and I think it's the nature of their show. If All the Smoke was positioned as first things first, where it's kind of like a debate where, hey, you give your opinion, you give your opinion, the guests give your opinion, okay, counter his opinion, then you start hearing what people really think, right? So that was just a thought that I had in the back of my mind. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think about some of the points that I laid out to you guys? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we catch you guys on the next show.